Hello, I have quite a nice video for you all today. I'm going to be repairing this Nintendo DS Lite. I've done quite a few, but to be honest, it never gets old. This one is a beautiful baby pink color. You can see immediately the screens are the problem. The bottom one is absolutely toast, and then the top one has this sort of yellow hue to it, which means that it's also toast. So, to solve the problem, I ordered just the top screen. I have no idea why I didn't order the bottom screen. I literally, in fact, something really did go wrong. I ordered 4 top screens. So, I mean, yeah, brilliant. Well done, Elliot. However, I do have this DS Lite, which is feeling a little bit sorry for itself. The top screen is toast, but the bottom screen is fine. So what I'm going to do, a little bit of tinkering. We're going to swap the top screen out with this brand new one. We're going to put the bottom screen in from this one, and all is going to be fine. This is a pain to do. This is a real tricky thing to do. The DSs are a little bit of a nightmare, but they're a lot of fun once you get the sort of the hang of it. This one has screen protectors on the top and on the bottom screen. And I pointed to the wrong ones as I said that. And then there's also these nice little protective films here. And this is going to be a gift to a friend of mine. So I think it's going to look absolutely mint, to be honest with you. This has been really, really well looked after. So hopefully I don't do any damage to it. It's really important when you're prodding the plastic with the little metal screwdriver to try not to scratch anything, because it will become incredibly obvious if the rest of the unit is mint that you scratched it, and you'll never unsee it, and it will certainly make me cry. So let's not do that. Right, Phillips screwdriver next. Let's take out the battery. There we go. Set that over to the side. It's probably good practice to replace the battery as well at this point. However, this one does hold a charge and it's not bloated at all. It's absolutely fine. Plus, it's fairly easy for someone to replace the battery if there's a problem. Over to the tri-wing. We've got a bunch of tri-wing screws. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and remove all of those. Now keep all the screws very, very separate, because yeah, they are all different. In fact, if you order an iFixit toolkit, this video is not sponsored by iFixit, you've got all these little sort of like different slots that you can put your screws in and keep them all separate. It's quite a nice little thing. I think they have that on the lids of like all of their kits, which is just a really nice little detail. So let's go ahead, remove this screw as well. Over to the Phillips again now, and we've got 2 in here. Sorry, there's another tri-wing just in there, the little black one. We'll get that in a second. Let's take out these Phillips screws. This screw here, by the way, is separate. So far, there's been 3 different types of screws, and now we're going to have a 4th, which is the little small black one, little tri-wing screw. So set that into a separate compartment. Right, let's take out the little protective tray door thing and the stylus. Can I give it a little spin? Let's see. No. 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 Yes. First try. Let's take the back off now. Very gently. Now there's a little latch that's just on this bottom part here, and if you just get your fingernail between the shell, you can very, very carefully sort of pry it out, and then you have the halves there. And one of the shoulder buttons has come out. Be careful with the little springs. We can set that over to the side. We'll take the other one out as well so that we don't lose anything. Okay, so the DS Lite is a fairly straightforward one to take apart. There's not that many ribbon cables, which is quite nice. I just did a video on my main channel about the new 3DS XL. There is so many ribbon cables, it's terrifying. But there's a couple of Phillips screws. Go ahead and remove those. Keep those separate as well, of course. And we can... Also, if you hear a pigeon making a strange noise on my roof, it's just given birth to a couple of chicks in my guttering. So it's just going... all day. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is take off this little antenna and pull the wire out from underneath, which is the antenna wire. So let's go ahead and do that. There's a little bit of adhesive holding it down, and then you've got to disconnect it from the actual, sort of brick connector thing there. And then we can take off the actual antenna. So for that, I'm going to grab some tweezers. and we can just very carefully lift it up, set the antenna over, and then we can pull this little wire through like that. All good. Okay, now there's another wire here as well. I believe this is for the microphone, so we can disconnect that and pull that over. Okay, so this next bit is a little bit tricky. You need to be very careful because there is a connector up here for the top ribbon. Now, obviously we're replacing the screen, but it's good practice in case you're actually not going to be replacing the screen, not to break the ribbon cable. So let's just take this whole bit out. What I basically did there was just pushed up on the screen, and that sort of pops it up like that, and hold it all together because this bottom screen could flap off, and there's 2 points where it's connecting to the board, so you need to be really, really careful with that. And then we can access this ribbon here. I like to use the little picks, but mine are missing from the iFixit toolkit, but I'm going to use this little pry tool here and just wedge it underneath the flap. There we go, lift it up and out with the ribbon cable. And then you have detached this whole part. Now, if you were replacing just the bottom screen, it'd be fairly straightforward from here. You're literally just going to unplug it and put a new one in and transfer over this little bezel piece, but we are going to have to go further than that. So we'll set that to the side and turn our attention back to this, and we'll carry on with that later. Now, I'm going to take all of these buttons out because they're just going to fall out anyway. And because this DS is in such good condition, there is not even a speck of dirt on these, so that's brilliant. What we're going to do is take our Phillips screwdriver, and there's 2 screws here on the hinge, so we can go ahead and remove those. They're quite long, so they're easily identifiable, but again, keep them separate. You don't want to be putting one of those into the wrong hole because it will poke a thread through the top of the shell, which will be mortifying. Now, the hinge cover is going to come up like that, and then we can access this little slot that the ribbon cable needs to come through. Now, you can tell that I don't really know what all the jargon and the lingo is, but I'm just trying to talk for the sake of sounding professional. Right, we're going to move these ribbons out of the way and pull the ribbon cable up straight. Now, you can see that tiny little slot there. Once the ribbon cables are below the ribbon and you sort of pull it up vertically, you can then slide the shell away and feed the ribbon through. Now, be really, really careful. Don't put any pressure on anything. It should just all do it naturally. And there you have it, taken apart. It's a magical thing. It's very satisfying. Right, we can move that away. Let's take out the hinge. There we go. Now, this is the most terrifying part of the entire operation. We are going to use the smallest Phillips head known to mankind because we're going to now need to pry up these little rubber covers which protect the screws. Now, the terrifying thing about that is that it's so unbelievably easy to damage the shell. Like, literally, it's so easy. So this could go wrong. Let's give it a try. Okay, so here's the first one. Let's give it a go. What I like to try and do is get it down in between the shell and the rubber cover. Make sure it's all the way down. And then without putting pressure onto the plastic, sort of push away at the rubber cover. I know it's really hard to explain, but hopefully you saw that there. And there is a tiny little bit of damage to it, but like not enough that you're actually going to see it or notice it. So that's kind of what we want. It's very difficult to not damage them at all, but that you're not going to notice that. You're not going to notice that. That's fine. At least I'm going to tell myself that. Right, let's try with the next one, see if we can get a slightly better job at it. I can actually see a little opening on the top of this one. It's very difficult to see, but I'm going to go for that instead. Here we go. There we go. Oh, great. It wasn't even in focus. Okay, well, there's the next one out. Let's see if we can try and keep this next one in focus, and you can see this happening. There we go. There's another one out. These rubber covers aren't looking too bad. Okay, final one. Wow, absolutely beautiful. Okay, now we can unscrew all of the little screws. And there's a tiny little bit of soldering to do with this because the speaker wires are actually soldered onto the ribbon of the top screen, which is quite a cool way to do that from Nintendo. It means that you can just carry on with the one ribbon cable and not have to have an additional wire or an additional ribbon going through the hinge. However, it does mean that we have to get the soldering iron out, which is fine, to be honest with you. It's absolutely fine. This is my job. Okay, so we have now gotten to quite a nice stage. What we're going to do is pull this very small little cover out, which goes over the ribbon cable and the antenna wires. So I like to roll, in fact, it's the only way to do it, roll the ribbon up and sort of get it to a point where it's smaller than that little cover. And then you can pull the cover over the ribbon cable and the two antenna wires, and then that is free, like that. And then that allows us to slide in one direction. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. Focus, focus. Right. We're going to slide up that top screen, and then we can very, very, very gently lift it apart and avoid damaging any of the very, very delicate little latches. Nearly. 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 Done. Boom. We are nearly there. As you can see, we have got very little left to do. And all we have to do is pop the top screen out, which is achieved by just sort of gently flexing the shell, getting a fingernail underneath the top screen, waiting for the bus to go past, praying it's not going to break. Ah, okay. And then we just got to get this ribbon cable through. So again, roll it up, and then push it through. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. The pigeon's off again. Don't know if you can hear that. Right. Ah, there we go. Okay. And then we can pull these little wires through. It's the final thing. And then the whole thing has come apart and it's finished. There's a little rubber sort of washer thing here, which is sort of to help with the vibrations of the speaker. Be careful that you don't lose those, and also you want to make sure that you put those back in, otherwise you're going to hear horrible little vibration sounds. It's kind of like a dampener. Sometimes they get stuck to the actual speaker, which is, I think, what's happened, there you go, on the other one. So we can set that into there. Righty-ho. We've got our microphone, we've got our antenna. Let's set that over to the side. And what we need to do is transfer over the speakers. So let me grab my soldering iron. Okay, so I'm going to use a very small amount of flux just because this solder is quite old and we want to do a nice clean job here. So here's my flux, and we can just replace the tip. There we go. Shove the little plunger piece in and then apply just a very small amount on there. Like that. Okay. And then we can take the soldering iron. Let's just give the tip a little clean. Okay. And here we go. Now we can open up our new screen and solder these into place. So I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the pads. Okay, and then on we go with the speaker wires. Right, well, I don't know where my Q-tips have gone, but I'm just going to use this little cotton pad here. It'll do the same thing. It won't be quite as clean. Now, I'm fairly certain, I might have to eat my own words here, but I'm fairly certain it doesn't matter which way the speaker wires go on and stuff like that. So we're going to have to quickly test this before I plug it all back in properly. But I'm fairly certain it doesn't matter. So let's just give this a very quick clean up with some isopropyl alcohol. I'm very pleased with that. Okay, and let's quickly plug this in and see if the speaker works. Here we go. Hey! And the speakers work. Of course, the bottom screen is still damaged, but the top one works and the speakers work. So, happy days. Okay, so we can take a look at the other screen and see which way it rolls. So we need to roll this ribbon cable like that, all the way around, like so, and then slide that through. Okay, and then we've got just a tiny bit of faffing about to do with different wires and stuff. Okay, that is looking pretty good. Final thing is the microphone, so we can slide the wire through there and then set the microphone down into place. So, there it is. Right, now let's pop this down again. And slide it down. Take a quick look just to see if everything's all gone on okay. Make sure there's nothing under the screen. Okay, that looks good to me. That looks really good to me. We have successfully closed up the top half. Everything is all nice and flush, so that is great news. Right, what we're going to do is put the little ribbon cable cover back on, slide it over these antenna and microphone wires all the way down. And there it goes, like that. Pull it through. Fantastic. Oh yeah, this is brilliant. So now we can put the hinge back in. There we go. I think that's it. And then we can take the bottom piece and just slide that ribbon back through, as well as the wires. And then we can close that bit up. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, now let's take our little hinge cover and that goes over there like that. And then what we're gonna do is pop the screws back in and see that the hinge operates okay. There we go. Right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, all good, all good, okay. Okay, so I've removed the screen from the other DS. Let's now take off this one. There's one little ribbon cable here which is for the digitizer, which I think is just a fancy way of saying touchscreen. So let's flick up this little latch and we can pull that out, okay? And then we're gonna go ahead and remove this little ribbon here as well. Pull that up, screen comes out like that. Right, what we need to do is transfer over this pink border. So I'm going to take off this one first because it's obviously already broken. Yeah, I think it might actually be better to try and remove the digitizer with that little piece on, because also this has got the screen protector on it as well. Yeah, I mean, that's come off quite nicely, really. Okay, let's try and do the same to the blue one. Okay, and then we can set this down. Let's just see if that's all centered okay. Yep, that looks good. That looks good. Close it up, flip it over, in with the little digitizer ribbon cable, and then close that latch down. So the microphone wire needs to be run just along the top of the shell. It's still sort of all bent in the right place, so you can just follow along the existing bend, slot it down into the little parts, drop the motherboard in. Let's get that screen pressed down nicely. I need to put all the buttons in. I completely forgot to do that. Okay, there we go. Right, it's getting very exciting now. It's very close. Okay, so let's put the screen down, and then we can just put the microphone wire back in again. Connect that up. And then we need to feed the antenna wire through underneath the cartridge slot. Yay! There it is. Okay, so antenna goes on and then plugs in. There it is. Good stuff. Okay, I think we're getting fairly close now. Let's put the screws back into the motherboard, like that. And then we can put the shoulder buttons back on again. Okay, the shoulder buttons are back in, so now we can go down with the back shell. Just make sure that the volume slider and the power slider are all in the correct place and that it all closes up naturally. You want to make sure the shoulder buttons are pressing okay, and if we flip it open, it looks as though all the buttons are going to be fine. So what we'll do is we'll just put a couple of screws in quickly just to make sure that all the buttons press properly before we close it up fully. Okay, let's take a quick look here. Battery in. Let's open it up. Right, everything is seamless. All looks very, very good. Let's see if we can turn it on. The power light has come on. Oh, there we go. Well, look at that. It's on and it's working. The top screen and the bottom screen are both working. That is fantastic news. I am very pleased. I'm very, very pleased. I'm a little bit relieved as well because it's quite a fiddly thing to do. And yeah, I know that the bottom screen's a little bit yellow. I did notice that, but it's not the hardest thing in the world to change it. And if it's something that they actually get use out of, I'll happily order them another one. But it is just going to be a gift to someone who probably isn't going to use it very often. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Right, I'm going to put the rest of the screws back in now. In with the stylus, in with the cartridge cover thing. One final screw to go down right here. Little Phillips one. And it's in. Battery cover. Phillips screwdriver. Oh my goodness. And then the two little rubber covers just back on there like that. And that is it. A complete DS Lite screen replacement. Absolutely perfect. All the buttons pressed nicely. Oh, it's gorgeous. I'm going to go through and change the language as well, because obviously it's the wrong language. English. Language set to English. There we go. It's in English now. It's done. In fact, I'm going to take off these little covers here and give it one little clean with some Mr. Sheen and a microfiber cloth. I'll probably do that off camera, but there it is. That is absolutely mint. That is absolutely mint. Boom. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's like a brand new DS. Very pleased with that. I hope you've all enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.